Who is Connie Norman?
Connie used every possible tool to amplify her messages. I mean, I imagine she would have 1 million Twitter followers today.
I'm going to be talking about it with the rich heritage and the culture of the gay and lesbian community.
She was very caring. She was extremely funny.
Why is it that heterosexuals have lives and gay and lesbian people have lifestyle?
Right
I
on.
think it's queer lives, honey.
The late Connie Norman was a trans and AIDS activist. She was a spokesperson for ACT UP LA that rose up from the neglect from the government to fund HIV clinics and HIV clinical trials and all of that after at least 7 or 8 years of nothing happening, just people basically just dying. And Connie took it upon herself as an openly trans woman to also amplify her voice by creating opportunities like we would see, like social media, having her own radio show, her own cable show, writing in a news column like a diary of her struggles as a woman living with HIV. Yeah, and it was a woman leaving a legacy to the next generation of the people who survived her and passing on the baton to another trans woman so that she would continue her work as she was leaving us. And that's who Connie Norman was.
Je hebt de film ook gekeken.
Ja, dat klopt.
De AIDS Diva.
Ja.
Wat vond je ervan?
Ik vond het fantastisch. Ik wist wel van Marsha P. Johnson en dan van de Rivera's en wat allemaal in New York is gebeurd. En natuurlijk van Harvey Milk. Maar Connie Norman, nog nooit van gehoord. Een geweldige vrouw. Ja, ik had momenten, dan schoot echt de tranen in mijn ogen. Want ik dacht van, oh, we hebben haar zo nodig nu. Zo iemand zoals zij, nu op dit moment.
And she was very angry.
That was the night when we had experienced the most extreme betrayal by the governor of this state. And under those circumstances, I can understand.
And she started to say things and bang, unbelievable. And straight to the point. That was for me very, very, very touching. I think myself that this documentary, they should show them on universities and on schools because it's so important.
The quality that she had that was so distinctive and that got to people was her honesty. Just blatant honesty.
We have sensationalized the issues of AIDS because it's connected to our sexuality as human beings. And we've done a lot of finger pointing. I want to take some of the finger pointing away.
Connie had to learn the language of government, the language of bureaucracy, the language of regulation, the language of lawyers and doctors and healthcare workers in order to communicate with them as somebody living with HIV and AIDS.
I wanted the film to be mostly about Connie talking in her own voice, in her own agency. I used the talking heads just to contextualize, the photos to contextualize, because, you know, AIDS wasn't the only story about our community. You know, there was a community that happened before. There were all the gay and lesbian centers that happened before, all the roller skating groups of gay, all the swim teams of gay men and lesbians that happened before. And also this history of that we left by the time were transvestites, transsexuals, and behind, even though they have been the core of the movement, you know, back in the late 60s. When we tried to become more assimilated and tried to be more like the general, hetero situation, those voices were, like Sylvia Rivera, and, just boo out of the stage, basically. And taken out of the rightful place in the movement.
Ik sta hier naast Bert en tot mijn grote verrassing en tot zijn grote verrassing kende hij Connie Norman eigenlijk nog helemaal niet. Want jij bent vooral San Francisco georganiseerd en zij heeft vooral veel in LA gewerkt.
Ja, dat verwondert mij eigenlijk. Dat is omdat ik best wel veel in Amerika ben geweest. En, want ik maak zelf namelijk ook documentaires, ook in de brede zin van het woord. Wat ik ook zo mooi vond aan deze film eigenlijk. Deze film die focust op Connie, maar daarmee vertelt de regisseur eigenlijk een heleboel verhalen. Over gay, over trans, over black, white, politics, van alles. Ja, ik ben nou een oude man, maar ik zou zo weer op willen springen en weer gaan protesteren, zoals ik dat vroeger deed.
Want wat is jouw affiniteit met het onderwerp dan eigenlijk?
Nou, ik ben gay. Ik heb HIV, al vanaf de beginperiode. Dus dat is al vanaf de 80 jaren. Ik heb haar dus overleefd. Ik heb het geluk gehad dat ik in 96 wel de pillen kreeg. Ja, dat was de tijd dat je dacht van, nou, heb ik nog een jaartje? Dat was, maar dat is ondertussen weggeëpt.
So you grew up most of the time in New York in the 80s, and then in the 90s you came to Amsterdam. And you also told that in Amsterdam you actually had your first experience with gay death. And it really struck me because you said, what did I do with all the people that I've lost before? What did you do?
I hid. I stay away. And you know, it's funny, I was talking to some people here this week, and I've talked to people my age. They did the same thing. We were so afraid. I don't know if you can even understand that. Maybe a little bit with COVID, that people just didn't want to talk to anybody, be with anybody, you know, just stay at home for the 2 years. I did not. I went out, not to clubs, but I went to the park, I went hiking, I went walking. But back then with HIV/AIDS, the stories of the deaths that happened were so harrowing. I mean, I don't think anybody can imagine. You know, like one day, I remember distinctly I was subletting some guy's apartment, most gorgeous guy you can imagine. He was actually a California surfer, although we were in New York. And he had one of the most gorgeous boyfriends who run a gym. And one day I come home and he's crying and he said, he had pneumonia, he passed away in a week. And I couldn't even go there. His family wouldn't allow me to be in the room. And I was like, well, he said pneumonia, okay. But we know it was something else. And you know, back then in the time, people just disappear. One day you're going to the gym with somebody or going to the dancing with someone, because the dancing never stopped, believe me. I kept going dancing, you know, to Madonna and all those clubs. I never stopped. Like, I did not shut myself out somewhere. No, I wasn't shut in at all. But you heard that people just disappear out of your life. And nobody knew what happened to them. There was no internet, there was no Facebook. People just disappear and you never heard of them ever again, you know. And the stories that will seep out is like, you will see people who are like, you know, like with poses, you'll see people like that. So I was petrified. I was petrified and I didn't want to participate in any kind of activism, act up, nothing.
Connie was just relentless in fighting for future generations.
To my congressman, I would say you vote wrong and you won't win again if you don't start showing some leadership.
There is a link through time between social movements for progressive change.
She would get a hoot out of who we are today. We are now kick-ass bitches because of Connie.
I know it's a big crowd, but I need all the drag queens, all the butch dykes, all the leather dudes and leather dudesses that can get up here to get up here. Listen up, Pete. I am a transsexual with HIV disease. I'm an ex-drag queen, ex-drug addict. I get it, I got it, and I'm dealing with it.
Hey Ola, you've been watching the movie about Connie Norman, and you were highly impressed by it, right?
Inspired, I would say. Really inspired. Yeah, and impressed also. I think it was really fantastic.
How come?
It's just to see the life of a person who was really devoted to, you know, taking the fight to the streets, you know, to talk about what people were going through, to talk about the humanity of the community, and to see how she was just sold out to that. She was just beyond, you know, our own, although she was living with HIV, but like she was just really devoted to ensuring that people had access to care. You could see how the epidemic evolved in the US and how people were dying, and she was just really so committed. But to really see the reality of what happened in the early 80s and also the early 90s, that is just very impressive for me to see. Now, HIV has really changed. People can be on ART now and live longer lives, but it was just so good to see that despite the challenges, the orders, I mean, she went to prison, you know, but she still kept on fighting. So for me, it was quite inspirational, and I'm like, okay, I've been working in HIV for a while, but I haven't done anything compared to what she's done.
What should we as a community fight for, actually?
So one thing I noticed in the movie was the fact that she was a trans woman, but she was fighting for everyone. So she was white, she was trans. She wasn't saying, well, this is only for the trans community alone. She was all about access for everyone. And I feel that in the Netherlands, like I said when I was talking, like it's a fantastic country. Things are here. But the reality is not everybody has access. And I think as a community we should go out there on different levels, taking it to the streets, but also with the government, with organizations, with different partners, and really talk about creating more access for people. As we know, people have different barriers they face with accessing testing, prevention, and treatment. And I feel that in our own different spaces we can do that.
And the testing locations of the AIDS Healthcare Foundation in Rotterdam and Amsterdam, they are available for everybody, right?
Now we're moving to a place where people can just walk in and for appointments, for testing, and it is available for everyone, documented, non-documented, white, black, Latino, from Middle East. It's open to everyone.
And as I understand, it's free and discreet, and you can just walk in, right?
Yeah, you can just walk in.
I was just very mindful to make a film that would transcend time. Mm-hmm. And obviously her mind was totally thinking about the things she was not gonna get to do, in the future of her trans community, which she was like the mother of it all, at least in LA. I'm the one who looked at all the archival footage after it was digitized over and over again, just looking for the things that will ring urgent and true to us and to the younger people, and that was my goal.